if today retrogression hit, if you were at the consulate, what would happen? If you had an I-140 approved, what would happen? If you were at the NVC stage, DS-260, what would happen? If you were, could you file? If you just passed your NCLEX and got an employer, could you file? Could you maybe break down for us each stage of the consular green card process, how retrogression might impact?
Okay, so I think the one thing I would say, and I would agree with my colleague, is to say that, like, no matter what, even if a retrogression happens, that you should continue on with your process, meaning make sure you are taking the exams that you need to take. Make sure that you are getting your healthcare worker certificate so that if a retrogression happens, you can still file an I-140. That is not an issue. You can still be able to file the I-140, which once you file the I-140, then you will get what's called a priority date. That priority date will help solidify your queue in line. Okay, so let's start with that first. Make sure you're going through, taking your exams, doing what you need to do so that you can at least get that 140 started. And then that way you get your priority date and you get in line. Okay, so then after that, if a retrogression happens and now you're in the NVC process, if your priority date is not current, then it's kind of at a standstill. So you won't get your fee bill, which means you won't be able to pay it, which means you won't be able to go on to the DS-260 stage and submit your civil documents and then get your interview. So keeping that in mind, go ahead and get that 140 approved, but just know that if the priority date retrogresses, that you will, and your priority date is not current on that visa bulletin, you will not be able to channel through that NVC process. Now, if you are at the NVC stage and fee bills have been issued and it retrogresses, my sense is, again, I think everyone takes a different take on this, but I would not pay the fee bills only because you can't really move forward. And so the best thing to do is just to wait until your priority date becomes current again. Because and I think most importantly, work with the attorney and the employer to ensure that the fee bill is being updated, because that fee bill has kind of a timeline on it for like a year. So in order to keep your case current at the NVC, your employer, your attorney needs to reach out to the NVC to make sure that the case is current. And we typically do that once a year just to let the NVC know that, hey, yes, we are still interested in moving forward, but not at this time because because I'm not current, and therefore we would want to wait. So, and so the next stage is, again, the DS-260, and then the interview. Again, if there's retrogression and your priority date is current, can't really move forward with those stages either.
Okay. So that's really helpful just for people to kind of have because I think there's, when you hear retrogression, there's a lot of fear, but it's really important to educate yourself about what would happen. And I think you've really laid out really nicely the different stages and what would happen if you were at a different stage in that process if retrogression hit.